This is the introduction to the gifted, talented, and creative learner. So who are the students who are gifted and talented and creative? How do we know who they are? And once we find them, what should we do with them? Gifted education has struggled with answering these questions over time. In a district, they have to answer these big questions like which model should we use? There's so many different models that try to answer those questions. So what do we believe in? What do we think giftedness is? And then which model will support that? How many staff members might we hire for this? Then how do we manage our data? How are we going to collect the information about students? How do we communicate that to faculty, students, parents? And then how do we promote the program so that it doesn't get cut every budget session? As a teacher, who are the students that we should teach? What should we teach them and how should we teach them? All these questions need to be answered for a solid gifted program. There are many definitions of giftedness. Here are a couple of them. But giftedness, it should go with your philosophy. What you believe about giftedness is what you will do with the program and what model you're going to choose. So whether you believe gifted has to do with IQ, and that IQ will tell us if you're gifted or not, or whether you believe in a more flexible definition of giftedness will depend on what model you're going to use. Here's a notion of giftedness I'd like you to think about. What does it mean to be gifted? So forgetting about who are the people who are gifted, what is it about the people who we think are gifted that make us label them gifted? And are all children gifted? Let's think about this. So what causes us to label these people as gifted? We have Chuck Berry, who is a gifted musician, Albert Einstein and Jane Goodall, who were gifted scientists, Mark Twain, no doubt a gifted writer, Pablo Picasso, artist, Mahatma Gandhi, religious leader, Amelia Earhart, Malcolm X, Frank Lloyd Wright. All of these were gifted individuals. What makes us all agree that these individuals were gifted? They did something. It was their behavior that caused us to label them gifted. And they weren't necessarily gifted at every moment of their life. Albert Einstein got kicked out of school because they didn't think he was very smart. So, but what is it that makes us think that they're gifted? So let's think about it. What is gifted behavior? First of all, those people had some kind of strong domain-relevant knowledge in science or music or art. Whatever it was their domain, they had a strong knowledge base in that area. Then they had a passion for an interest. They were self-directed, so they were autonomous learners that really strove for their goals. In addition to that, they had some kind of creative or critical thinking. They helped us gain new insights or put things together in a new way so that they really made a difference in the world. When these three things come together is when we have gifted behavior. And that's what we're looking for, is the behavior, not the student. These gifted behaviors can happen in certain people at certain times and under certain circumstances. So we are not saying that everyone is gifted, or all children are gifted. What we're saying is we don't know who might grow up and be the next Albert Einstein or Amelia Earhart. But what we can do is look for certain behaviors and certain things about students and try to work towards causing this gifted behavior to happen. It happens in certain people at certain times under certain circumstances. So what if we really helped students get their interest and find out what they were absolutely passionate about and really build up their domain-relevant knowledge? What if we gave them some creative and critical thinking skills and help them use that skill that they have to really put that towards their interests and their domain-relevant knowledge? We might facilitate gifted behavior happening right in our classroom. Now, gifted behavior sometimes is, people think of it as elitist. They think gifted is elitist because of the old notion that gifted was IQ and only certain people had a high IQ, so you were either gifted or you're not, and if you're not, then it was elitist for those students who were not chosen as gifted. So let's get rid of the word gifted for a minute, and let's just think about what else could we call this behavior when these things happen and come together. Let's call it creative, productive behavior, because they produced something and they were creative. They used their knowledge, they used their passion, and they created something. They produced some new idea or something that was useful to our society. So that's what we can do as teachers. So we can teach them skills to help with those three areas. And then we can also provide opportunities to extend the grade level curriculum to help them gain their interests. Maybe they don't even know all the things they're interested in yet. Give them some skills for how to remember more information, how to use their creative thinking and their critical thinking. This is what gifted programming is all about. Whether this is done by a gifted programming specialist or a classroom teacher, we can all add to gifted programming. And really what we're talking about is helping all of our students be creative, productive, self-directed learners. Wouldn't it be nice if all of our students left our school this kind of a learner? That's really the goal of gifted programming, to help students become creative, productive, and self-directed. So if that's the case, then look back at this. The classroom is a big component here of how we can help students with that creative, productive, self-directed learning. Now there's different perspectives in gifted programming, and there's an article you're going to be reading on the mystery and mastery, and looking at the two different camps of gifted programming. The one camp of educational researchers who say, oh, gifted is the high IQ, and we take a test and we find out if we're gifted or not, and that determines whether we need gifted programming services. Then there's another camp that's more of the mastery model that says there's this revolving door that students may go in and out depending on what the circumstances are at that time. So read that article. It's a fascinating article. I think you'll learn a lot from it. And then answer the discussion forum about what are the strengths and weaknesses of each philosophy, and which philosophy do you find yourself agreeing with more. Then on page 55 in your textbook, it has all different programming options. Look at those programming options that are listed here as well, and think about what perspective would these options result from. Would they be the mystery or the mastery perspective?